Okay, students, you should be on the teacher summary page on page 5. You could either, you should be watching this video, or if you prefer to do this in person with your teacher, go up to the front of the classroom. First thing it says, get out your Unit 1 reference card. So that's this card, have it handy. We're going to summarize the basic concepts that you have gone over so far. And the first basic concept is symmetry. Symmetry. And line symmetry means when a shape can be folded across a line to create two congruent, that means the same, shapes. So this isosceles trapezoid here, that means those two sides are equal. If I draw a line this way right down the middle, you can see if we were to fold this trapezoid in half, it'd be exactly the same thing. So we would say that this trapezoid has one line of symmetry. Now, rotational symmetry is when you can rotate a shape less than 360 or less than a full circle, and it can still be the same shape. So for example, here we have a regular pentagon, which means all 5 sides are congruent. So mark the hatch marks, that means they are congruent. That's a regular pentagon. And if I take this dot and I rotate it partially, this dot here comes up to the exact same position, and you have the exact same shape. That's called rotational symmetry. Then we talked about transformations. Transformations. And first one was translation. And if you have an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate, and you translate it by, or you slide it by, a horizontal and a vertical value, the resulting coordinates is going to just be the x-coordinate plus the horizontal value, and the y-coordinate plus the vertical value. That's if you want to slide. Just slide it. That's called translation. To help you remember it, say this out loud. To slide, add to the left, add to the right. To slide, add to the left, add to the right. To slide, add to the left, add to the right. Reflection over the y, that is when you have the y-axis and you flip over the y-axis like this. This would be a reflection over the y. And if you reflect over the y, if you have an xy coordinate, and you're going to reflect over the y, all you do is you opposite the x coordinate. So to reflect over the y, all you do is you opposite the x coordinate. Say this out loud 3 times. To flip over the y, opposite the x. To flip over the y, you opposite the x. To flip over the y, you opposite the x. Now reflection over the x-axis, that means you're reflecting horizontally like this across the x-axis. So if I were to flip that over, I would get something that looks like this. And for this one, if I have the xy coordinate, to flip over the y, you opposite the x. If I want to flip and reflect over the x, you opposite the y. So to flip over the x, you opposite the y. Say this out loud. To flip over the x, you opposite the y. To flip over the x, you opposite the y. To flip over the x, you opposite the y. We're going to reflect over the origin. So that would be as if you're going from one quadrant right over to the exact opposite quadrant this way. It's also the same as rotating 180. That means if you were to rotate that exactly 180. And for this one, to flip over the origin or rotate 180, which is the same thing, you opposite both the x and the y. So to flip over the origin, you opposite both. To flip over the origin, you opposite both. To flip over the origin, you opposite both. For rotation clockwise would be like this, 90 clockwise. If I were rotating this way on that point, that would be rotating clockwise. If I were to rotate 90 degree clockwise, you take your x and your y. And the first thing you do is you switch the order. So we're going to go y and x. And then I'm going to draw a clockwise arrow. Then you opposite that right coordinate. So to rotate 90 clockwise, switch and flip to the right. Write that out. To rotate 90 clockwise, switch and flip to the right. To rotate 90 clockwise, switch and flip to the right. Counterclockwise would be as if I were rotating on that point counterclockwise. And for this one, you do x and y, whatever your coordinate is. First, you switch the order, y comma x. Then it's counterclockwise, draw a counterclockwise arrow, flip the sign. Counterclockwise arrow, and flip the sign. Once you have this entire page filled out, return back to your notes. Okay, back to your notes. We're going to do two examples together. Okay, so example number one, we have UGX, and we want to rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise. So counterclockwise means I go towards the left. So the first step, when you have rotations, just draw a broad sweeping arrow to kind of tell yourself which way this is going to rotate. We're going counterclockwise, so we're going to take this, and we're going to go that way with it. That's counterclockwise. So just draw a sweeping arrow that tells you which way are you going. Now go ahead and let's get these 3 points here. So our first point is U, and that coordinate is 1, -1, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and -5. So that's our original U coordinate, -1, -5. Our G coordinate, our original G coordinate is again -1, and then -1 again. Our X coordinate, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 to the right and 1, 2, 3 down. So it's 4 to the right and 3 down. Okay. Remember what we talked about. To rotate 90 counterclockwise, switch and flip to the left. That was on this paper, right down here. To rotate 90 clockwise, switch and flip to the left. So do not do both steps at the same time. Let's do them one step at a time. Step number one, I'm going to switch the order. I'm going to switch only. So I take these and I swap them up like this. So I'm going to have -5, -1. And I have -1, -1. Technically, you swap those, you get the same thing. Here I get -3, +4. That was the switch step. I'm going to cross that out. So first you switch. Then we're going to go through and flip the signs going towards the left. The easiest way to do this is to draw a counterclockwise or left arrow. So switch it on the left. Negative becomes a positive. Switch it towards the left. Negative becomes a positive. Switch it on the left. Negative becomes a positive. Now let's graph these 3 new points. 5, -1. That's going to be our new u. That's u prime. Next one, +1, -1. +1, -1. That's our g prime. Then our x prime is +3, +4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's our x prime. Now connect. The easiest way to tell if you did this right is to draw 2 guide points from the origin to the original and a prime coordinate. For example, I'm going to go from the origin. If you have a straight edge, it might be helpful. You're going to draw a straight line to U. Now I'm going to draw another straight line to U prime. And you can see, if you've done this correctly, that we have rotated exactly 90 degrees counterclockwise. Okay, let's do another example here. Example 2. It says point G is at, let's do point G. Let's first get that coordinate. It's over 1, down 1, so that's going to be -1, -1. And we're going to translate it to a new coordinate. So I'm going to take G, and I'm going to translate it to this coordinate right there. That's going to be G prime. And its new coordinate is going to be +1, +2. My original coordinate was -1, -1. So the question is, what's the rule here? You look and you ask yourself, what was the change from each of them? There's 2 ways to do this, mathematically or visually. I'm going to show you both. Mathematically, let's look here. Let's ask yourselves, what is the difference between -1 to +1? To get from -1 to +1, we know we add 2. To get from -1 to +2, we know we add 3. So our translation rule is +2 for the horizontal and +3 for the vertical. Another way you could have done it is just bunny hop it. We know what's 2 to the right, so we're going to the right, so that's going to be +2. And then we move 3 up, 1, 2, 3. 3 up, that's +3. So for our new 2 coordinates, we went plus 2 for the horizontal and plus 3 for the vertical. So let's look at our original coordinates. Our original coordinates of U are -1, -5. And our original coordinates for X is +4, -3. So I go like this. I'm going to take that -1, I'm going to add 2. And my new coordinate is going to be +1. And then I take that -5, and we're going to add 3. -5 plus 3 is -2. So that's my new coordinate of prime U. Follow this down here. Draw the arrow. We're going to add 2. So my new X prime is going to be 6. I'm going to add 3. My new X prime, is 0. Now let's graph those points and see if it actually works. So my new U prime is +1, -2. So +1, -2. That's my new U coordinate. And then my new X coordinate is 6, 0. I don't have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can go 1 over, and that's 0. And that's going to be my X prime. Now I draw that in. If you look very carefully, we have taken this triangle and we have slid every point 2 units to the right and 3 units up. 2 units to the right and 3 units up.